Coming up, the Bourbon County authorities seek your help in looking for a wanted suspect.
Plus, we've got a cool start to our work week. How long is it going to last? That answer's coming up.
And the city of Miami, Oklahoma puts out a new ordinance on animals.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. So I don't know if you noticed, but it's a little bit on the chilly side out there this morning.
It's nice.
It's not bad. It's a little more fall-like, which it's only about time. The only bad news is the upcoming week. The main guys that track all the severe weather and winter storms down in Norman, Oklahoma, have straight up said the only thing that they're watching is Tropical Storm Ian. There is nothing else going on across the lower 48 this week.
That's too bad.
Because, as you know, we do need rain. We need it very badly. But on the other hand, it's going to be dry, and the temperatures are at least expected to be fairly reasonable. At 7th and Range Line right now, you can see we've got pretty decent skies. I mean, you can't really see it yet, but as the sun comes up, you'll see 50 degrees as we start the day in Joplin under those mostly clear skies. Got good temperatures across the area, 58 Center, 50 Columbus, 49 in Carthage, and 50 in Greenfield. And kind of like last week, we're starting off, we are upwards of 10 to 15, even 20 degrees cooler now than what we were 24 hours ago, as we have a nice little pattern working in. Like I said, we need the rain, but in terms of outdoor activities or things like that, it's not bad at all. 6.2 out of 12 for pollen count today, 5.6 out of 12 tomorrow, so significant improvements in the allergy forecast. And as kids get on the bus, 48, partly cloudy skies, bus bringing them home. It's going to be 75 under partly cloudy skies, northwest wind, maybe gusting upwards of 25. Going through the rest of today, we're looking at a high of, believe it or not, 81 degrees under partly cloudy skies. We'll clear out tonight with mostly clear skies. We're going to gradually drop back down into the lower 50s with 53 for the overnight low. We're going to take a full look at the rest of the week here in just a few minutes.
I like it when the temperatures are down in the 50s at night. That's nice.
It's actually a little fall-like, so you can't complain, at least temperature-wise. It's going to be decent and feel like it's supposed to in September as we get ready to close out the month here soon. It's hard to believe we're already through September.
I know, it's almost October. Great.
Yeah, it's spooky season right around the corner.
Yep.
Of course, at 5 a.m., it's always spooky season.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Missouri House burns to the ground, leaving only the foundation. Around 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, Dunawig Fire Department was alerted to a house fire in the Prosperity area. The house located at 19910 Eli Road was engulfed in fire by the time the Jasper County deputies arrived. Investigation determined that the resident was not home at the time of the fire. Mutual aid arrived from Joplin, Webb City, Oronogo, and Carthage. The fire was declared under control at 2:55 a.m. No firefighters were injured. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. Bourbon County Sheriff's Office asked the public to look out for a wanted suspect. Officers at J. Terrence Scott Jr. Officers say J. Terrence Scott Jr. is wanted in connection with a felony pursuit in Bourbon County, who they say may be armed and dangerous. Officers recovered the vehicle the suspect was riding in, contacted the other suspects involved in the case. However, Scott escaped the area. Police say they discovered narcotics and firearms in the suspect's vehicles. Deputies encourage anyone with information regarding the crime to contact the sheriff's office. City of Miami, Oklahoma has a new ordinance to deal with an issue of stray cats, dangerous or unwanted dogs, and irresponsible pet ownership. City of Miami's animal shelter says the city wants to be proactive before the issue gets out of hand. Shelter manager says a change they are most excited about is the trap, neuter, and release policy that comes with the ordinance. Animal control will set up traps for cats, especially in locations where there are many of them, such as places where people feed them.
Basically what we'll do is we'll set traps the day before our vet appointment is scheduled, and then pick those traps up, get those animals fixed, and return them back to the exact same location that we picked them up from. We're not relocating or doing anything.
Ordinance will take effect in 30 days. Carl Junction hosted its CJ Bluegrass Festival on Saturday for families to enjoy. The event featured the country singers from around the nation, as well as the vendors, live music, food trucks, and kid activities. An organizer says celebrations like this bring the community together.
I think it's important to have a festival that has been around for a really long time. It's a family tradition to a lot of people that I talk to. So they grow up coming to a festival and it brings the community together, and it brings Carl Junction together, and it gets people a chance to experience Carl Junction and what we have to offer in our city.
The event was attended by over 13,000 people. Every fall, Festa Italiana makes its way back to Frontenac, Kansas. Festa Italiana gives people the opportunity to see the heritage of Southeast Kansas and why it is the way it is today. Funds raised go towards student development grants and semester scholarships to all Frontenac high school graduates.
I think it's just the whole community atmosphere and the support of the school in general. Frontenac has a great thing going here where they really have strong support for the schools. The community is pretty tight-knit, a lot of celebration of heritage, so it's just great to get out here and be among people and for a great cause.
Scholarship funds dispersed by the Frontenac Education Foundation. Pittsburgh Art Walk holds the 16th annual Fall Art Walk in downtown Pittsburgh. Art Walk showcases work from local artists. Artists use the event to sell their work or gain exposure. Their work is open to all kinds of artists, new and old.
Well, for me, this is the first time sharing my art with the community since I was in high school. So it's been 20-some years ago, 25 years ago. So it's really exciting for me. It's a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but just getting out there and the supportive community is really great around here.
Pittsburgh Art Walk is planning another art showcase event in November.
All right, quick check of the 7-day forecast. That's what I was talking about. Really not a lot on the horizon. Mostly clear skies, maybe some passing clouds here and there. We're going to hang out in the lower to mid 80s for most of the week, warming up heading into the weekend. Look at some of these overnight lows. Definitely fall-like, the lower 50s and even some upper 40s out there as well.
All right. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, KU took on Duke over the weekend. We'll have if they kept their perfect record or not.
Plus, NASA plans to test its planetary defense program tonight by attempting to move an asteroid.
More people in the U.S. are surviving cancer. We'll have the details. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
The Kansas City Chiefs are off to a 2-0 start this season. They're back on the road for a Week 3 matchup against Indianapolis. Colts still looking for their first win, and they strike first. Matt Ryan to Jelani Woods for a 1-yard touchdown. Now later in the second quarter, Clyde Edwards-Helaire punches it in. Chiefs take their first lead, 14-10. Now to the fourth. 30 seconds left in the game. Ryan connects with Woods down the middle for the 12-yard score. Colts on top. Not much time left for the Chiefs, trying to get into field goal range. Patrick Mahomes' pass is broken up, tipped into the hands of Rodney McLeod Jr. And the interception seals the win for the Colts, 20-17, the final.
For us as offense, we got to make it where those little mistakes don't cause a loss. I mean, we had multiple chances to get in the end zone. If we get in the end zone one time and so don't stall out in the red zone that second half, the game's over. So, I mean, it's just with the defense plays like this, the defense plays like they did today and they've played this whole season, we got to win these football games. I mean, our schedule gets no easier. We have a hard game, Sunday Night Football against Tampa next week with a great defense. So we have to get better quickly, and if we don't want these L's to start piling up. We want to make sure we get back on that winning train.
Missouri Southern won its third straight game on Saturday, topping Fort Hays State 25-24. The Lions are now 3-1 on the season. Here are a few notable performances from Saturday's win. Nathan Glades ran for 112 yards and a score. Trace Wilhite caught the game-winning touchdown pass, his first collegiate touchdown. Defensively, Richard Jordan Jr. tallied 9 tackles, plus he forced 2 fumbles, including one that set up Wilhite's go-ahead touchdown. Jordan now has 11 forced fumbles in his career, which sets a new school record. Pitt State is a perfect 4-0 on the year following a 14-13 win over Emporia State Saturday. Caleb Lewis rushed for 117 yards and scored the go-ahead touchdown. The Gorillas' defense played a solid game. The Hornets trailed by 1 point in the fourth quarter, and Trent Thompson came up big for the Gorillas with a sack for a loss of 7 yards. That led to a missed field goal for Emporia State, and Pitt State hung on to win the game. Kansas Jayhawks stay rolling this week, topping Duke 35-27 on Saturday. Quarterback Jalen Daniels accounted for all 5 touchdowns in the game. Kansas is now 4-0 for the first time since 2009. Head coach Lance Leopold says there's been a difference in recruiting now that the Jayhawks are gaining national attention.
People are paying attention. They're seeing change. I think we had a large group here today. Even some surprises and stuff to come in and take it in. And some have been people who have been here before, and they see a change. They see the crowd. They see the excitement. They see the potential of what this program can be, and it's exciting. And it's still going to take some work, but it's definitely been different the last couple weeks on the phone for sure.
The new AP poll was released. Top 5 teams all stay the same. Oklahoma State remains at 9. The Cowboys had a bye this week. They are 3-0 this season. Oklahoma drops 12 spots following their loss to Kansas State. And the Wildcats cracked the top 25, now 3-1 on the season. They sit at number 25. Kansas in the conversation as well. They received the most votes among those outside the top 25. Kansas City plays their final home game of the 2022 season. The Royals enter the afternoon's game with a 38-42 home record. Series finale against Seattle. Mariners extend their lead here in the 5th. Ty France slides it into right field. 2 runs come in. Seattle scores 8 runs in the inning, but guess what? Kansas City can top that. And here come the Royals. Bottom of the 6th, Kansas City down 11-2. Mike Massey blasts a 2-run home run to right. Later in the inning, runners on the corners. Bobby Witt Jr. finds grass in deep right. 2 more score. Royals within 4. Massey back up in the same inning. He goes the other way. 4th RBI of the afternoon for Massey. That makes it a 1-run game. Very next batter, Ryan O'Hearn, lines it to right. It's a 2-run double for the lead, and what a comeback. The Royals score 11 runs in the 6th. Kansas City hangs on to win 13-12. And St. Louis closes out a series against the LA Dodgers. Dodgers win the finale 4-1. Yadier Molina drives in the Cardinals. Lone run of the afternoon off a single to left. Well, still to come, Italians go to the polls to vote on who goes into their parliament. Plus, we got another check in your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. All right, wanted to shake things up just a little bit for you all this morning. Keep your minds sharp. A little weather trivia for you. So where did the deadliest U.S. hurricane on record make landfall in the 1900s? Was it Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans, Louisiana, Galveston, Texas, or Key West, Florida? Now, Trevor here in the studio, he's picking B. Think about it at home. We'll get through the forecast. We'll have the answer just before the 7-day forecast here in just a couple of minutes. All right, so right now, Skywatch Storm Tracker clear. In fact, we were talking about this earlier. The big forecasting bigwigs down in Norman, Oklahoma said the only thing that they've got to track right now is Tropical Storm Ian when it starts to come ashore. Otherwise, we are clear across the lower 48. We are clear in Joplin with a 50-degree start to the day. We've got 52 Fredonia, Parsons, 50 Columbus, 46 down in Neosho, and 47 as we start the day in Monette. That still puts us 10 to 20 degrees cooler now than it was 24 hours ago, so much more fall-like across the area. Allergy outlook is so much better than it has been the last several days. We're at 6.2 out of 12 today for the pollen count, 5.6 out of 12 tomorrow. So allergy sufferers, you may be able to get outside for a little bit today because finally getting a little bit better. 7 a.m., 48 degrees, partly cloudy with a northwest breeze, 10 to 15. Kids getting on the bus. Bus brings them home, warms up a bit, 75, partly cloudy, and that northwest wind starts to gust at about 25 miles an hour. Going through the rest of the day, we're looking at 71 by noon, 75 at 5, 65 by 8 with an afternoon high of 81 under partly cloudy skies. And then we'll have an overnight low of 53 under mostly clear skies. And then this is Ian, still just a tropical storm, but as you can see, nope. It may have officially become a hurricane this morning. This does update pretty real time, and it is expected to make landfall in Florida at some point and could be a Category 3 or 4 hurricane when it does so. Now, real quick to the answer to our trivia question. Was it Charleston, New Orleans, Galveston, or Key West? If you picked C, Galveston, you are correct. 8,000 lives were lost on September 8, 1900 when a 15-foot wave with 130-mile-an-hour wind struck and devastated that coastal island down in Texas. No names for storms back then, but they do believe it was a Category 4 hurricane. And then a quick look at the 7-day. It's pretty easy to explain. We've got mostly clear skies, no rain in sight, although we need it. Watching some rain chances next week, but otherwise a pretty decent pattern temperature-wise for the next several days. What was once thought only the stuff of science fiction movies is actually set to happen later today in outer space. For the first time in human history, mankind may deliberately move a natural celestial object in space. NASA will attempt to slam a spaceship into an asteroid nearly 7 million miles away to change its course, all in the name of planetary defense. Christian Benvenise has more on this out-of-this-world mission from Miami.
What we've only seen in the movies could happen tonight.
We are moving an asteroid. We are changing the motion of a natural celestial body in space. Humanity has never done that before.
To do that, NASA is hoping to smash a spacecraft into an asteroid nearly 7 million miles away from Earth.
It is a little like a bug crashing into an SUV.
About the size of a vending machine, NASA's DART spacecraft will be flying 14,000 miles an hour when it slams into Dimorphos, a small moon orbiting the asteroid Didymos.
The moon they're trying to hit is only 525 feet across. So if you think Statue of Liberty, think about the pyramids, it's kind of in that scale.
The impact will not destroy Dimorphos, but NASA aims to nudge it off its course by as much as 10 minutes.
It's a very small change, but it's a proof of concept. They want to prove that you have the ability to deflect an asteroid if they ever spot one heading toward Earth on a collision course.
I wonder if you can expand a little more about that, because this mission really is about planetary defense.
There are thousands of bodies in the solar system, and they haven't spotted all of them. The odds of an asteroid hitting the Earth with devastating impact, they're remote, but the consequences are extreme.
Evidence suggests one or more asteroids caused the mass extinction of dinosaurs on Earth. Scientists say they know of no asteroids that will impact Earth within the next century, but they're always searching.
It's something that we need to get done, and so that we know what's out there and know what's coming and have adequate time to prepare for it.
NASA says the DART mission is just the first in a series of experiments that will better prepare mankind to save the world from unknown threats. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
The DART spacecraft will start taking one picture a second when it is 1,000 miles from striking the asteroid and sending those images back to Earth. Earlier this year, DART deployed an Italian satellite that will continue to photograph the asteroid after impact. Telescopes on all 7 continents, along with the Hubble and Webb space telescopes, will also photograph the experiment. And that brings us to our question for you today. Do you think we need to be spending money on planetary defense? Simple yes or no. Make sure you vote through our website, our app, and take part in discussion on our Facebook page. And we're going to have Health Watch when we come back.
Topping Health Watch this morning, fewer people are dying from cancer in the U.S. with more survivors than ever before, and that's according to a new report. Mandy Gaither has more on which cancer death rates have fallen the most and what's driving the change.
Lung cancer, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and cancer of the prostate, the 4 most common forms of the disease. Now progress against them has helped lead to fewer people dying from cancer, according to a new report from the American Association for Cancer Research.
Not only are people surviving, they're living longer, they're living better as a result of this.
The report says between 1991 and 2019, there was a 32% drop in the U.S. cancer death rate. That means nearly 3.5 million lives were saved. In the last 3 years, the number of people who are living after a cancer diagnosis increased by more than 1 million. As of January in the U.S., there are 18 million survivors. The report says there were only 3 million U.S. cancer survivors in 1971.
Part of it is because we better understand these cancers.
The report says it's due to new treatments such as immunotherapy, as well as improvements in catching cancer early and declines in smoking.
So many cancers are preventable from lifestyle changes, smoking, obesity, things like that. Maybe half of cancer is preventable in that regard.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had an effect on cancer in the U.S. with nearly 10 million breast, colorectal, and prostate cancer screenings missed in 2020. The report offers recommendations to build on the progress made with cancer screenings and regain momentum. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we do have breaking weather this morning. As we mentioned earlier, we just watched this data update. Ian, now officially a Category 1 hurricane as it turns off and heads toward Florida over the next few days. As it approaches Florida, it is expected to be a roughly Category 3, Category 4 hurricane, making it a pretty significant one for that state. Here in our area, though, we'll take a quick look at the 7-day. We're looking at 81 today. We've got partly cloudy, mostly clear skies all week. Temperatures lower to mid-80s until the weekend when we warm up. Overnight lows in the 50s and 40s, 49 actually Wednesday night. And then hopefully next week we're looking at some rain chances. We're back right after this.
Coming up, the Bourbon County authorities seek your help in looking for a wanted suspect.
10 to 15 degrees cooler as we start our day with another fall-like week ahead. The forecast coming up.
And the city of Miami, Oklahoma puts out a new ordinance on animals.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we are beginning our day considerably cooler. Once again, not like it was last week with that cold front. If you remember, temperatures dropped. They were 40 degrees cooler by the afternoon than they were the day prior. And then by the time we hit the weekend, we were nearly 40 degrees warmer. And now we're starting to level out a little bit, which is good. The only problem is, our drought situation worsened last week too. And we have no rain in the immediate forecast. I mean, there's nothing for the next several days. It's not until maybe the middle of next week before we see our first piece of any kind of rain chance whatsoever.
It's unfortunate.
It is, but it does make the forecasting portion of this a little bit easier. I mean, right now at 7th range line, we do have clear skies. It's 50 degrees in the city of Joplin. We've got 50s for the most part across the area. We've got 46 Neosho, 47 Anderson, 49 Carthage, and 50 in Yates Center as we start the day. As we mentioned, that's 10 to 15 degrees cooler now than what we were 24 hours ago. Allergy sufferers, there's some good news at least. Allergy counts, or pollen counts rather, are still down. 6.2 out of 12 today, 5.6 out of 12 tomorrow. Kids getting on the bus, going to be a wee bit on the chilly side. 48, partly cloudy with a northwest breeze at 10 to 15. Bringing them home, 75 at 3 o'clock, partly cloudy. That northwest breeze could be gusting upwards of 25 miles an hour. And we take a look at the forecast for today, partly cloudy skies. Afternoon high eventually reaching 81. Be mostly clear tonight with an overnight low of 53 degrees. And I did want to show you, of course, Ian, now officially a Category 1 hurricane. This updated just this morning. I mean, we're talking 10 minutes ago. And Ian is still expected to track into Florida by midweek. We're looking at maybe Wednesday. And it could make landfall as a Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane, which is something we will watch. It's really the biggest weather story of the week is the majority of the lower 48 stays dry for the most part. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. Unfortunately, we won't get any rain out of this. The cold front that helped cool us down is going to keep Ian to the east, but definitely a scary situation for folks in Florida right now as this system continues to intensify.
Yeah, and we have a lot of friends down there, so.
Yeah, we do. We do, and
make
that's
sure,
why.
hope everyone is safe.
But in our line of work, some of our friends are in that line of work down there, and you know that this is something they're probably gearing up for. Is this? This is where the coverage goes, wall to wall, 24 hours a day. And I remember watching a long time ago coverage from Miami for Hurricane Andrew, where they went, continuous for several days straight, and were broadcasting from their basement. It was it's interesting to watch, but make sure you heed any warnings. You got friends in Florida, let them know this thing's coming by midweek.
Hopefully they know. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, Missouri house burns to the ground, leaving only the foundation. Around 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Dunawig Fire Department was alerted to a house fire in the Prosperity area. The house, located at in the 19,000 block of Eli Road, was engulfed in fire by the time the Jasper County deputies arrived. Investigation determined the resident was not home at the time of the fire. Mutual aid arrived from Joplin, Webb City, Oronogo, and Carthage. The fire was declared under control at 2:45 a.m. No firefighters were injured. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. Bourbon County Sheriff's Office asked the public to look out for a wanted suspect. Authorities say J. Terrence Scott Jr. is wanted in connection with a felony pursuit in Bourbon County. They warn residents to be careful as he may be armed and dangerous. Officers recovered the vehicle Scott was riding in and contacted the other suspects involved in the case. Now, Scott is described as 6 feet tall, 6 feet 6 inches tall, and 280 pounds. Authorities say they discovered narcotics and firearms in the suspect's car. They encourage those with information on the crime to contact the sheriff's office. Miami, Oklahoma has a new animal ordinance. The focus is on stray cats, dangerous or unwanted dogs, and irresponsible pet ownership. KOAM's Yana Hatula discussed the animal issues with the animal shelter and one local resident.
The city of Miami has a stray animal issue. The city leaders decided to be proactive before the problem gets too out of hand.
We wanted to make sure that we had a better set of ordinances that fully encompass the needs of the city.
The ordinance includes trap, neuter, and return policy that seem to be an issue in some of the neighborhoods.
Basically what we'll do is we'll set traps the day before our vet appointment is scheduled, and then pick those traps up, get those animals fixed, and return them back to the exact same location that we picked them up from. We're not relocating or doing anything.
The shelter is very excited about the policy. To start, they will focus in areas where humans attract the cats.
There are people in town that are already feeding those cats, so we are just going to give them an approved area to do that in.
A local resident I spoke to agrees the policy is an improvement.
If the city will follow through, that's the way to curb the population from more kittens being born and turned loose into the neighborhood.
He says cats tend to show up on his yard at night.
At night they would screech and howl, fighting each other, and get all the dogs upset.
The animal shelter is also working on a registry for pets in case they get lost. Right now, Wilkins reminds people to put identification on their animals in case they do go missing.
That's easy for us to contact an owner. We always try to contact the owner out in the field before they ever even make it back to the shelter.
In Miami, Yana Haudala, KOAM News.
The ordinance takes effect in 30 days. This morning, we're discussing NASA and planetary defense. NASA is hoping to smash a spacecraft into an asteroid nearly 7 million miles away from Earth, about the size of a vending machine. NASA's DART spacecraft will be flying 14,000 miles an hour when it slams into Dimorphos, a small moon orbiting the asteroid Didymos. Impact will not destroy Dimorphos, but NASA aims to nudge it off its course by as much as 10 minutes. Evidence suggests one or more asteroids caused the mass extinction of dinosaurs on Earth. Scientists say they don't know of any asteroids that will impact Earth within the next century, but they are always searching.
That brings us to our question to you. Do you think we should be spending money on planetary defense? It's a yes or a no. You can vote on our website through the app and, of course, take part in discussion on our Facebook page. So far, 80% of you say no, 20% of you say yes. I'm in the yes category because I grew up with, like Deep Impact and things like that. So,
well, I mean,
not like it's going to happen, but
if we're planning our future on other planets and possibly other solar systems and stuff, then we've got to expand our defense system too. So,
well, and
that's why we have Space Force now.
And then we'd have to defend the other planets that we move on to if that came up. So, I don't know.
Someday we will be able to answer the question if we're the only ones out there. So
one of these days, or they'll just stop by and visit us, or possibly like a TV show I saw where these teenage aliens flew by, saw the planet Earth, and said, "Oh, hey, look," and they just blew it up. I don't think that's going to happen, but it was something that I'm that guy. I think about that stuff, and I thought, man, what's to stop that from happening? So anyway,
let's hope it doesn't.
I don't think it will, but it was just an interesting thought.
All right, that's a look at our top.
No, that's a look at our
let's do it. Let's do
7-day forecast,
7
quick
day
and easy. We're looking at the 80s most of the week, mostly clear skies, maybe some passing clouds. Overnight lows considerably more fall-like.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a woman scuba diving discovers a 3,000-year-old canoe.
Plus, Cubans take to the polls to vote on a historic referendum. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. World Watch, millions of Cubans head to the polls for a historic referendum that could change the island's culture. They will decide for or against a new family code that could legalize same-sex marriage, among other things. New family code will also expand rights for LGBTQ couples, such as adopting children. President Miguel Diaz-Canel said they expect the majority of the people to vote yes. However, the referendum comes after widespread power cuts and runaway inflation that could be used as a political opportunity for Cubans to express their anger. Italy's right-wing bloc is set to win a majority in the next parliament, RAI exit polls show. The alliance of the conservative parties seem to have won between 41 and 45% of the votes, while the center-left coalition is set to win between 25.5% and 29.5%. Data from RAI pollster Paipoli shows that far-right Brothers of Italy party, led by Giorgia Meloni, has won between 22 to 26%. Matteo Salvini's league won between 8.5 to 12.5%, and Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italy won between 6 to 8%. The final results of the parliamentary elections held Sunday are expected today. Well, protests continue in Iran and across the world following the death of an Iranian woman in police custody. Demonstrators say they are fed up with the Iranian regime's strict rules for women. Alexandria Hoff has the latest.
State media in Iran is reporting that over 40 people have been killed so far in the unrest, and the Iranian army has warned of continued confrontation, calling demonstrators enemies of the state. The protests were sparked by the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died after being detained by the so-called morality police for not properly wearing a headscarf or hijab. While Iranian authorities claim that Amini had suffered a heart attack, reports have indicated that she had been severely beaten.
This year is a year of blood. Saeed Ali will be toppled.
As the demand for a regime change now echoes in cities throughout Iran, women are defying Iranian law by removing their head coverings and cutting their hair. Solidarity protests are now underway throughout the world.
I cutting my hair because many of my sister in Iran, they gonna die maybe tomorrow because of hijab, and I don't want it and I hate it.
Here in Washington this weekend, protesters called on the White House to reject the Iranian regime.
And it is a test of the international community to stand with the people of Iran.
In addressing the United Nations General Assembly Wednesday, President Biden hailed the protesters, specifically the women of Iran, as brave. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said today that the U.S. is offering assistance.
We have taken tangible steps to sanction the morality police who caused this young woman's death. And we've taken steps to make it easier for the Iranian people to get access to the internet and to communicate with one another and with the world.
The White House says that while the administration does have concerns with Iran on the issue of human rights, efforts to revive the 2015 nuclear deal will continue. Let's look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
We've got a pretty decent day lined up for us today as we head for an afternoon high of 81 degrees. Partly cloudy skies will be mostly clear overnight. Temperatures gradually dropping back down to 53 for an overnight low by 6 a.m. And as we look at the 7-day forecast, we need rain. Unfortunately, none in this forecast. We stay dry. We stay mostly clear. 80s all week and most of the overnight lows in the 50s. Our next best chance of rain is looking to be the middle of next week. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines. The news you need to know before you head out the door. A Missouri house burns to the ground, leaving only the foundation. Around 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Dunawig Fire Department was alerted to a house fire in the Prosperity area. House located in the 19,000 block of Eli Road was engulfed in fire by the time the Jasper County deputies arrived. Investigation determined the resident was not home at the time of the fire. Mutual aid arrived from Joplin, Webb City, Oronogo, and Carthage. Fire was declared under control at 2:55 a.m. No firefighters were injured. The cause of the fire is still unknown at this time. Bourbon County Sheriff's Office asked the public to look out for a wanted suspect. Officers say J. Terrence Scott Jr. is wanted in connection with a felony pursuit in Bourbon County. They say he may be armed and dangerous. Officers recovered the vehicle he was riding in and contacted other suspects involved in the case. However, the 6'6", 280-pound Scott escaped the area Police say they discovered narcotics and firearms in the suspect's vehicle. Deputies encourage anyone with information regarding the crime to contact the sheriff's office. Every fall, Festa Italiana makes its way back to Frontenac, Kansas. And Festa Italiana gives people the opportunity to see the heritage of Southeast Kansas and why it is the way it is today. Funds raised go towards student development grants and semester scholarships to all Frontenac High School graduates. Well, Carl Junction hosted its CJ Bluegrass Festival on Saturday for families to enjoy. The event featured bluegrass singers from around the nation, as well as vendors, live music, food trucks, and kid activities. An organizer says celebrations like this bring the community together. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as the kids head out the door, we're looking at 48 degrees at 7 a.m., partly cloudy skies, northwest breeze at 10 to 15. Bus turns around later, brings them home. It's going to be 75 at 3, still partly cloudy, but that wind picking up, maybe gusting to 25. As we go through the rest of today, we will eventually warm up to 81, as you can see, under partly cloudy skies. And those partly cloudy skies give way to mostly clear skies overnight, temperature dropping back down to 53 for an overnight low. And a look at the 7-day forecast is very simple and easy to get through. We're going to be lower to mid 80s for most of the week, and then this weekend we start to warm up. As you can see, we're mostly clear, partly cloudy skies. So if you've got outdoor activities, great weather to do it, but we need rain, and it's just not in the forecast. Overnight lows for the most part in lower to mid 50s, save Wednesday with an overnight low of 49. And then we are watching some rain chances possibly by the middle of next week that hopefully will stick with us and bring us some additional shower activity. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, on Friday, a scuba diver made a historic find. 3,000-year-old canoe.
Naomi Cowles has more on this breathtaking moment.
After 4 months,
It gives me goosebumps.
Tamara Thompson could finally celebrate seeing something that hasn't been seen for so much longer.
3 different tests, so for sure it is a 3,000-year-old canoe.
This morning, Thompson helped the Wisconsin Historical Society dive team delicately raise an ancient canoe from the waters of Lake Mendota.
It's kind of the consistency of wet cardboard.
Thompson spotted the relic while scuba diving off the southwestern shores in May.
Texted my boss, I'm like, you're not going to believe this. This is not a joke. I found another dugout canoe.
Last fall, she helped recover a different 1,200-year-old canoe in the same lake. This summer, the Historical Society sent a sample from this canoe. Radiocarbon dating places it from approximately 1126 BC, predating the Trojan War. It's an era that's difficult for Marlon White Eagle to grasp. He's able today to touch something made by his Ho-Chunk tribe's distant ancestors.
Shows that we had a society with transportation, trade, commerce that was a part of the fabric of our society back then.
The excavation process started on Monday, 30 feet deep out in Lake Mendota. And now this 3,000-year-old canoe heads next to the State Archive Preservation Facility, where it could take up to 3 years to complete preservation. Historical Society Director Christian Overland admits this discovery, which is currently in several pieces, presents more questions than answers.
It's a new pathway and portal to the past, understand.
But he says, in conjunction with the Ho-Chunk tribe, there will be much to learn, much to celebrate in the years to come.
That's part of the story that we're going to bring up out of the water, and the investigation starts. The storytelling starts. History moves forward in a new way.
Well, the canoe joins the one found last year in Lake Mendota, which had restoration delayed because of the pandemic. And of course, supply issues and stuff.
Yeah, but that's still an absolutely incredible find. I mean, a 3,000-year-old canoe.
How neat.
That is really. Now the question is, can it be lake-worthy again? Can it be water-worthy?
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be neat.
We'll wait and see. We got another check of your forecast right after this. As we start this morning, it is very fall-like out there. We got mostly clear skies, 50 degrees in Joplin, and temperatures looking pretty good around the area too. I mean, very, very fall-like. I mean, check out Neosho, for example, 46 in Grove, 48 Miami, 53 Parsons, and 50 in Chanute as we start the day. And despite the fact that it is much more fall-like, we're still upwards of 10 to 15 degrees cooler now than what we were 24 hours ago. And some good news for allergy sufferers as well, as the pollen counts are down, 6.2 out of 12 today, a a 5.6 out of 12 for tomorrow, so much better than what we've been seeing. Kids getting on the bus, 48, partly cloudy, northwest breeze 10 to 15 when the bus brings them home. 75 at 3 o'clock, still partly cloudy, but that wind picks up a bit, starts to gust at around 25 miles an hour. 81 the afternoon high today under partly cloudy skies, so not bad. And then we clear out. We're mostly clear tonight as temperatures drop back down to 53 degrees. And then as we broke to you this morning, Hurricane Ian now. Hurricane Ian with winds as of this report 75 miles an hour. Down there, still set to track and make landfall in Florida sometime by the middle of the week and could be Category 3 or 4 hurricane once it does so. Either way, it's going to be very strong as it approaches the western coast of Florida and then expected to later track into Georgia. As for us on the future track over the next several days, you can see some showers way out in western Kansas a possibility, but here locally we don't have anything for the next several days. Heading into the weekend, still nothing other than good temperatures, I suppose. And then we are watching. This is Tuesday. We're looking at a pretty good chance of maybe some showers and thunderstorms out there. And a quick look at that 7-day forecast shows us not bad. 80s, clear. We need rain, but if you've got outdoor activities, it's going to be all right. Overnight lows in the 50s. We're back right after this.
Coming up, area firefighters join forces to battle a house fire in Dunwich.
Good news for allergy sufferers as pollen counts are down, but that's not the only thing dropping. We've got your full forecast coming up.
And Carthage calls on volunteers and businesses to promote the city's beautification and revitalization.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. I wanted to take a quick minute to thank our graphic artist, Will York. I've been in need of floppy disks. This is not a 3D printed save icon for the younger generation.
I remember these in a little case they used to come in.
He found some for free at a yard sale that he was at. And so he picked them up for me, and I'm greatly appreciative. I've got older computers at home. I'm working on a project. I've needed a floppy disk, and now I've got a few to work with. So, Will, thank you.
Wouldn't it be cool if these were actually, had some info on them?
That's what I'm going to find out. I've got a project to look forward to when I get home later
The fact
today.
that you have a computer that still takes these. I still have disk and I need them some documents transferred, so I'm going to look you up.
All right, that sounds like a plan. Something else we're looking at is a much cooler start to the day as well. Mostly clear in Joplin right now. 50 degrees is where we are, and we've got mostly 50s across the area. We're looking at 58 Center, 51 Columbus, 48 Miami, and even cooler look at Neosho, 45 degrees as we start the day. That still puts us around 10 to 15, even 20 degrees cooler now than we were 24 hours ago, but that does put us also more fall-like. Take a look at the allergy outlook. 6.2 out of 12 today, 5.6 out of 12 tomorrow. So very good news for allergy sufferers. Kids getting on the bus this morning to be about 48 degrees, partly cloudy when they get on the bus. Northwest wind at 10 to 15, gusting to 25 later today. 75 at 3 o'clock, partly cloudy skies, and will be partly cloudy all day long, 81 the afternoon high. And as we head into tonight, we're mostly clear. Temperature drops back down eventually to an overnight low of 53 degrees. We're going to take a look at the 7-day forecast. We need rain, and I can give you this hint. There's not any in the forecast, at least right now, but we'll show you what the rest of the week has to hold here in a few minutes.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Chris. Well, a house in Dunwich burns down to its foundation. Around 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Dunwich Fire Department was alerted to a house fire in the Prosperity area. The house, located in the 19,000 block of Eli Road, was engulfed in fire by the time the Jasper County deputies arrived. Investigation determined the resident was not home at the time of the fire. Mutual aid arrived from Joplin, Webb City, Oronogo, and Carthage. The fire was declared under control at 2:55 a.m. No firefighters were injured. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. Parsons, Kansas police investigate the shootings of 2 dogs. This comes in the wake of other dog attacks on dogs. One happened in the 1500 block of Grand late Friday morning. Witnesses say a man between the ages of 20 and 40, dressed in camo, shot a 3-legged pit bull in one of its legs. The nearby Garfield Elementary School went into a partial lockdown. The dog was later euthanized. The second attack happened just before 7 p.m. in the 2600 block of Stevens. This time, a pit bull was shot, but is expected to survive after surgery. Police are looking into possible similarities to 4 other attacks on dogs in the Parsons area in recent years. In early 2021, a dog named Blue was shot and killed. And then on March 3rd of last year, another dog named Zeus was shot but survived. December 3rd, 2021, Ranger Parsons police officer's dog, his personal dog, was found decapitated. And later that month, December 29th, a fourth dog, Draco, was found dead wrapped in a blanket near a bridge. Police say Draco's body had trauma from a choke chain. $34,000 reward was offered for information about these cases last year, but so far no arrests have been made. Oklahomans will not have the opportunity to vote on the legalization of recreational marijuana come November. The state Supreme Court rejected a request from supporters of the question to add it to the November ballot. The problem is the length of time it took to get the question through legal challenges in court. Officials say there just was not enough time to print ballots for the November election with the question on it. The High Court did say the question could be added to a future election. Now, Arkansas, however, can expect to see the issue of recreational marijuana on their November ballots. The Arkansas Supreme Court is allowing a ballot question about recreational marijuana to proceed. State panel had blocked the measure from the November ballot, arguing that it did not fully explain to voters the impact of the amendment. Supporters of the measure argued the board's criticism went beyond what was required for ballot initiatives. The state's High Court agreed and overturned the board's decision. The 6th annual Restoration Carthage Workday took place on Saturday. The goal is to promote beautification and revitalization of Carthage through volunteering, partnerships, community, and business engagement. The groups would participate in yard cleanups, low-maintenance landscaping, and minor exterior repairs.
Probably just selflessness, you know what I'm saying? Like, we always just love helping one another, you know what I'm saying? We're gentlemen. That's like what KA is, like gentleman group, stuff like that. So like we just help people out, and like I'm saying, we just love being pigments in our community, you know, so like we just love like helping one another, and like we're brothers, so like we like bond together, and like, you know, we all do stuff together, you know what I'm saying? No one does anything alone, so that's what I think this group is, you know, bottled around.
The groups would adopt high visibility blocks to focus on. Tropical storm Ian continues to grow in strength and intensity, and it appears to be on course for the west coast of Florida. Ian is expected to develop into a hurricane today, and forecasters believe it's likely to intensify by Tuesday, possibly into a Category 4, meaning winds over 130 miles per hour. State of emergency is now in effect throughout Florida. Most forecasting models show Ian on a course tracking along the state's Gulf Coast towards the Panhandle later this week. Officials say widespread flooding may occur even if the center of the storm remains offshore. We'll have more on Tropical Storm Ian coming up later in the show.
And we've actually got the latest advisory on Hurricane Ian as well that we can show you here in a couple of minutes. But first, we have some Today in History, because on this date, 1965, Kansas City Athletics star ageless wonder Satchel Paige in a game against the Boston Red Sox.
59-year-old Paige, a Negro League legend, proved his greatness once again by giving up only one hit in his 3 innings of play. He was the highest paid pitcher of his time, and he wowed crowds with the speed of his fastball, his trick pitches, and his considerable bravado. Before the game, Paige sat in the bullpen in a rocking chair while a nurse rubbed liniment into his pitching arm for the entire crowd to see. Paige, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. Paige's 3 innings for the Kansas City Athletics made him, at 59 years, 2 months, and 18 days, the oldest pitcher ever to play a game in the major leagues.
Now, arguably the greatest pitcher of his era, Paige was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1971, and he died in 1982. Now, as promised, look at that track on Ian. This is the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. Just became a Category 1 hurricane about 30 minutes ago with winds at 75 miles an hour. And as mentioned, expected to track into the Florida's west coast, and also expected to intensify to a Category 4 hurricane over the next few days as well. On our weather, 7-day forecast, we need rain, but it is not there. We stay mostly clear to partly cloudy. Temperatures in the lower to mid 80s. Save the weekend where we do warm up a bit, and much more fall-like overnight lows as we drop back into the 50s, and even a 49 Wednesday night as well.
All right. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Regina Hammonds from the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest Missouri is in studio this morning to tell us about a party you're invited to and it's for a good cause.
Plus, NASA to boldly go where mankind has never gone before, to crash into an asteroid faster than a speeding bullet. We're going to tell you why.
Like a scene out of Independence Day. And a new study shows children who've been infected with COVID-19 stand a much higher chance of developing type 1 diabetes. We've got the details. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. All right, well, if you're looking to have a groovy time, we've got the perfect event for you. I've got Regina Hammonds in studio from the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest Missouri here to talk about the big fundraiser of the year.
Yes, ma'am. Club Camingo is going to be on October the 8th. And it, like you said, it's going to be a groovy time. The theme is 60s, if people didn't guess by the way that we're speaking, because we're turning 65. So we thought that it would be a great theme for us turning 65.
Let's talk about where the Boys and Girls Club has come in the last 65 years. Obviously, you weren't there at the beginning.
I was not.
No. How long have you been with them?
Just a couple of years, but I've been involved with them for a little bit longer. So that makes it equally as special whenever you're involved with a charity and then you go to work for a nonprofit. So it says something about the organization in itself. But, back in the day, people just, the Boys and Girls Club was a place where people just went to hang out and just had fun. It's transitioned to something more. It's an after-school program. It's a safe place for kids to go. We do programming with the kids. We make sure that they have a meal before they go home. Or in the summertime, we feed them lunch, breakfast, and a snack. And to make sure that, because that's important, because not so much in this area, but across the nation, those are the only meals that those kids are going to get. But, we allow a safe place for our kids to go and to be themselves and to develop their young minds. So, we're the extension of the school, but we do programming in a fun way.
Yeah, and it's a social experience for the kids, and it's important to have that in a safe manner to where they can grow socially as well as academically while they're at school and stuff too.
And we're going to start some really cool new programs. Hopefully we're going to have a little bit of a mental health piece to go with it, which I think is extremely important because we're seeing a transition from COVID that some of these kids really need that mental health piece. And we're going to start some things with our teens, more workforce development type things. And so we've got some exciting things coming.
What is that? What's the age level for kids at the Boys and Girls Club?
So it starts at 5 until 18.
5 to 18?
5 to 18. But we split them up in groups.
Okay. And there's age-specific activities going on in
so
each
we
section.
have kindergarten, first grade, second grade on up. And then, our teens are together. 6th, 7th, and 8th are together. And then the teens on up are together. Okay. So and they have their own little cool little area, their own little cool little room. So.
And of course, you have plenty of staffing in each area.
Yes.
That provides that safe atmosphere for everybody too. And you mentioned after school, are you guys open on the weekends too?
We are not open on the weekends. It's just Monday through Friday, and then all day during the summertime.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about Club Camingo coming up in 2 Saturdays. You've got a silent auction, a live auction, and it's basically a big party too.
It is. It's a very fun event. So as you said, we do a dinner, a silent auction, a live auction, and it is a good time. So we're going to have some different beer vendors and different type of vendors there, but it is a sit-down dinner. So we're looking for people to buy a table, and there's ticket sales on our website, or individual tickets if you just want to come by yourself, or you can be a sponsor and get a table that way. Or if you can't do any of the above, you can always donate a silent auction item. We're always looking for things like that.
What are some of the things that you guys have in the live auction so far?
There's a couple of trips. There's a NASCAR experience. There's a jersey, a Kansas City Chiefs jersey. We've always done somebody. This year we picked Nick Bolton. because he's a Mizzou guy. And I think that's going to be unique because we've always picked somebody that, like Kelsey or Mahomes or somebody like that. But we've picked Nick, so there's going to be that. There's going to be some bourbon, like a collector's bourbon that has a really neat story with it about the Green Berets that made it, started this distillery after 9/11. So it's a really cool story. So there's going to be some really unique items. You know, they're all over the place.
Okay. And if you have something unique or something fun that you'd like to donate for the auction, how do they get a hold of you guys?
So they can call us at the Boys and Girls Club at 417-623-8072, or my email is rhammons, HAMMONS, at bgcswmo.org.
Okay, and of course we'll have all of this information plus more details and a link to your website on our site with this story later this morning at KOAMnewsnow.com.
Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hope you guys
Appreciate
have a
it.
groovy time on the 8th. We'll be right back.
We got a very fall-like start for us today across the 4 states. In Joplin, 7th Range Line, looking good so far. Clear skies, 50 degrees. Taking a look at temperatures across the region, and you can see we got 52 Fort Scott, 50 Nevada and Lamar, 49 Carthage. Check out Neosho, 45 as we start the day, putting us anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees cooler now than we were 24 hours ago, but temperatures are a little bit more on par for what they should be this time of year. It's just a lot cooler than what we've been seeing. Allergy sufferers too, some good news. A 6.2 out of 12 for the pollen count today, 5.6 out of 12 for tomorrow, so much better than what we saw just several days ago. Kids getting on the bus, 48, partly cloudy, northwest breeze at 10 to 15, gusting to 25 later, 75 and partly cloudy at 3 o'clock today. And as we go through the rest of this day, we are expected to reach a high of 81 degrees and will stay partly cloudy throughout the day. And then we'll have mostly clear skies as we settle into tonight, and temperatures will drop back down for an overnight low of 53. Now, Hurricane Ian, as we first brought you earlier this morning when it just transitioned over on the latest update from the Hurricane Center. 74 miles an hour is hurricane strength, and we're at 75 for Ian as of the latest advisory, so it's a Category 1. Still expected to track to the Gulf Coast side of Florida and could be reaching upwards of a Category 4 hurricane. If you're not familiar with hurricane categories, 5 is the maximum, and so a 4 is a very strong hurricane that could impact the western side of Florida. And it's one of those things, even if this portion of the hurricane, if the eye is not on land, you're looking at a good area around that that's going to be impacted by some significant storm surge and, of course, high winds, which can lead to flooding. Future track on our side for the entire week shows us absolutely nothing. I want to skip ahead because it's not until next week that we actually see a chance of maybe some showers and possibly even a rumble of thunder as we head into early Tuesday. But as you can see, it's short-lived. And a look at that 7-day real quick shows you where for this week, no rain in sight, unfortunately, but for those with outdoor activities, good week to get it done. Temperatures in the 80s, overnight lows for the most part in the 50s. As we just mentioned, what was Tropical Storm Ian is now Hurricane Ian. It's a Category 1 with sustained winds of 75 miles an hour. Ian appears to be headed for Florida's west coast. It's likely to become the first major storm to hit the state this year. Astrid Martinez reports.
The storm winding its way towards Florida, named Ian, was upgraded from a tropical storm to a hurricane this morning, and forecasters believe it's likely to intensify by Tuesday, possibly into a Category 4, meaning winds over 130 miles per hour.
I'm always nervous when they say hurricane, storm, but listen, I live in Florida.
A state of emergency is now in effect throughout Florida. Most forecasting models show Ian on a course tracking along the state's Gulf Coast towards the Panhandle later this week.
We could see a situation where we have Cat 4 storm surge and potentially a Cat 1 or 2 hurricane landfall.
Officials said widespread flooding may occur, even if the center of the storm remains offshore.
Don't think that if you're not in that eye, that somehow you don't have to make preparations.
Residents of the Sunshine State appeared to be heeding those warnings. Many spent the weekend filling sandbags and stocking up on emergency supplies.
Shop early, get your flashlights, get your batteries, if you want a generator, get it early.
while we have them, because there's only going to be a limited amount.
Forecasters still aren't sure when the storm is expected to make landfall in Florida, as its path remains unclear. They are hopeful, though, it'll weaken a bit before reaching U.S. shores. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Now, President Biden has also declared an emergency authorizing the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency to coordinate disaster relief. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, children who've been infected with COVID-19 show a substantially higher risk of developing type 1 diabetes. Study in JAMA Network Open tracked more than 1 million patients 18 and younger. Researchers found a 72% increase in new diagnoses of type 1 diabetes within 6 months of an infection. Hospitals around the country are seeing the dangers of cycling while under the influence. Researchers at the University of Arkansas say from 2019 to 2020, more than 11,000 people were treated in emergency rooms after riding bicycles while high on drugs, the most common, methamphetamine and cannabis. Doctors say too many children are dying in accidents involving all-terrain vehicles. The American Academy of Pediatrics released an updated policy statement saying no one under 16 should operate or ride an ATV. Those who do should stay off public roads and never ride at night or with passengers. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We've got a very fall-like start to the day across the area. 7th and Range line, we do have clear skies and cool temperatures as we are at 50 in Joplin with a calm wind, but we're going to have a gusty breeze a little later today. We got 58 Center, 49 Iola, 49 in Columbus, and 49 in Carthage as we start the day, putting us anywhere from 10 to 20, gosh, even now 23 degrees cooler now than where we were 24 hours ago. Even though these temperatures are much more seasonable, it's a lot cooler than what we have been seeing. The allergy sufferers, good news, 6.2 out of 12 today on the pollen count, 5.6 out of 12 for tomorrow. Kids getting on the bus, we're looking at partly cloudy skies, 48 with the northwest breeze, maybe 10 to 15. It'll be gusting to 25 later, 75 at 3 o'clock, still partly cloudy. And that's how we'll be for most of today. So we see an afternoon high of 81 degrees. And as we head into tonight, temperatures gradually drop back to an overnight low of 53 degrees under mostly clear skies. And again, the latest on Ian, Category 1 hurricane, as it'll travel up Florida's west coast and reach Category 4 strength just off the coast of Florida. Our forecast locally, though, we are dry, unfortunately, even though we need rain. But if you get outdoor activities, good week to get it done. We're in the 80s all week long, warming up a bit by the weekend. Overnight lows, for the most part, also in the 50s. We're back right after this.
Coming up, area firefighters join forces to battle a house fire in Dunaweg.
While we stay quiet in the 4 states, we're watching Hurricane Ian as it makes its way toward Florida. We'll have the latest on Ian and our forecast coming up.
And Carthage calls on volunteers and businesses to promote the city's beautification and revitalization.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It is a beautiful start to the day, very fall-like start to the day this morning. Yeah, it's not bad. We need rain. We don't have any in our immediate forecast, unfortunately, but if you've got outdoor activities, this is the week to get it done because it's going to be pretty pleasant. Right now in Joplin, we got clear skies and it is 50 degrees as the sun slowly starts to creep up in the city at 7th and Range line there. We've got 49 Iola, 54 Parsons, 49 Columbus, 46 Miami, and 48 in Neosho as we start the day, putting us anywhere from now 10 to even upwards of 25 degrees cooler now than we were 24 hours ago. Even though the temperature is more seasonable, as I mentioned, they're just considerably cooler than what we've seen. 6.2 out of 12 for the pollen count today, 5.6 out of 12 for the pollen count tomorrow, so good news for allergy sufferers. Kids getting on the bus, partly cloudy, about 48 degrees with northwest breeze, about 10 to 15, gusting to 25 later. 3 o'clock, 75, still partly cloudy, and that's the theme for today, with an afternoon high ultimately reaching 81. Of course, with the sun dipping down earlier, we cool off faster. 65 by 8. Overnight low tonight, dropping back to 53 degrees under mostly clear skies. And of course, we are still watching Ian now, Category 1 hurricane as it continues its track toward Florida. Could be a Category 4 as it approaches the coast with winds over 130 miles an hour. We're going to take a look at our 7-day forecast here in just a few minutes.
All right, sounds like a plan. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, the Bourbon County Sheriff's Office asked the public to keep an eye out for a wanted suspect. Officers say J. Terrence Scott Jr. is wanted in connection with a felony pursuit in Bourbon County. They say he may be armed and dangerous. Officers recovered the vehicle the suspect was riding in and contacted the other suspects involved in the case. However, the 6'6", 280-pound Scott escaped the area. Police say they discovered narcotics and firearms in the suspect's vehicle. Deputies encourage anyone with information regarding the crime to contact the sheriff's office. A house in Dunawig burns down to its foundation. Around 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Dunawig Fire Department was alerted to a house fire in the Prosperity area. The house, located in the 19,000 block of Eli Road, was engulfed in fire by the time the Jasper County deputies arrived. Investigation determined that the resident was not home at the time of the fire. Mutual aid arrived from Joplin, Webb City, Oronogo, and Carthage. The fire was declared under control at 2:55 a.m. and no firefighters were injured. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. 6th annual Restoration Carthage Workday took place on Saturday. The goal, to promote beautification and revitalization of the Carthage area through volunteering, partnerships, community and business engagement. The groups would participate in yard cleanups, low maintenance landscaping, and minor exterior repairs.
Probably just selflessness. You know what I'm saying? Like, we always just love helping one another. You know what I'm saying? We're gentlemen. That's like what KA is, like gentleman group, stuff like that. So like, we just help people out, and like I'm saying, we just love being pigments in our community. You know, so like, we just love like helping one another, and like, we're brothers. So like, we like bond together, and like, you know, we all do stuff together. You know what I'm saying? No one does anything alone. So that's what I think this group is, you know, bottled around.
The groups included would adopt high visibility blocks to focus on. Well, Russia is looking to boost the ranks of its forces fighting in Ukraine. This weekend, people in Kremlin-occupied territories in eastern Ukraine are being forced to pick a side. Deborah Pata joins us with more on what's next.
Staged polls in occupied cities like these, referendums amid the rubble and ruin of war. A grotesque mockery of democracy, ballots propped up by bullets. Election officials, accompanied by armed soldiers, go traipsing up flights of stairs, knocking on doors, searching for voters. Others pound the streets with loudhailers. Russian news outlets were keen to show enthusiastic voters in occupied Kherson. A day later, that same location was deserted. Ivan Fedorov, the exiled mayor of now occupied Melitopol, calls it a farce.
I think that we can name Russian it's a terrorist which hold our citizens as hostage. Russians take a hostage our citizens now inside Melitopol.
The White House regards the referendums as a sign of Vladimir Putin's weakness following crushing battlefield defeats. But Putin's not only a sore loser, he's a dangerous one, threatening nuclear weapons and imposing an immediate call-up for military reservists. It sparked widespread anti-war protests at home, resulting in hundreds of arrests and the panicked exodus of young men fleeing the country to dodge the draft, like Sergei, caught up in a long line of traffic at the Finnish border.
I just pack my bag and directly go to Finland.
Many of those called up have never fought in a war, let alone one that already has hardened Russian fighters on the run. Deborah Patter, CBS News, Kyiv, Ukraine.
All right, well, this morning we are discussing NASA and planetary defense.
NASA is hoping to smash a spacecraft into an asteroid nearly 7 million miles away from Earth. It's about the size of a vending machine. NASA's DART spacecraft will be flying 14,000 miles an hour when it slams into Dimorphos, a small moon orbiting the asteroid Didymos.
The goal is to nudge the asteroid off course by as much as 10 minutes. NASA says the DART mission is just the first in a series of experiments that will better prepare mankind to save the world from unknown threats. All they needed to do was get advice from Bruce Willis, I'm telling you.
Or Morgan Freeman. I mean, I was...
He can be the consultant on anything space.
I was a bigger fan of Deep Impact than Armageddon. I'm not saying Armageddon wasn't a good movie. I'm just saying I like Deep Impact better. But do you think we should be spending money on planetary defense? And so far, 57% of you say yes, 43% say no. You can vote through our website, our app, and of course take part in discussion on our Facebook page. Something else we're discussing is how dry it's going to be. We need rain as the drought situation continues to worsen across the area, but we don't have any on this forecast. Outdoor plans, though, a go. Mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the 80s. Overnight lows, for the most part, hovering out more seasonably in the 50s. And we are watching some rain chances by Tuesday of next week. They're slim, but they're there, and it's better than nothing at this point.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, the Federal Reserve takes aggressive steps in an effort to curb inflation, including raising interest rates 5 times. We'll tell you more.
And we'll be back right after this with another look at that forecast.
In Consumer Watch this morning, the Fed raised interest rates 5 times this year in an effort to curb inflation. Raphael Bostic, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, says on CBS Face the Nation, the hikes are likely to lead to some job losses, but he predicted they would not be as extensive as cuts seen in past downturns. Bostic said the Fed's priority is to, quote, avoid deep, deep pain. Elon Musk will spend the next 2 days answering questions from Twitter's lawyers. The world's richest man will sit for a deposition related to his $44 billion offer to buy the social media company, an offer he's trying to rescind. Twitter is suing Musk to enforce its sale agreement. The matter is scheduled to go to trial October 17th. NFL says Rihanna will headline the halftime show at Super Bowl 57 in February. She hasn't performed publicly since the 2018 Grammy Awards. Sunday's announcement came on the heels of Apple Music replacing Pepsi as the show's sponsor in a deal estimated to be worth over $50 million a year. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
All right, we do have a very nice sunrise at 7th and Range Line. Our question, though, how is the rest of the day going to shape up? We'll have a look at your full forecast and the latest on Hurricane Ian here coming up. And it's almost time to get your Monday party on. We've got birthdays and anniversaries just around the corner. But first, we're going to take a look at what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Chloe Gong is one of the youngest authors on the New York Times bestseller list. We'll talk to her about her upcoming novel. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Logan Dively. The Coffeyville, Kansas native served in Iraq from 2003 to 2013 as part of the Company A 3rd Brigade. To Sergeant Logan Dively, we thank you. Today's four-state hero.
All right, time to celebrate some birthdays on this Monday morning. We begin in Jasper with Macy Fosdick, who's turning 8. Macy, a happy birthday to you.
All right, and Aria Allred celebrating birthday number 9 this year. Hope it's a great one for you.
And we've got Aspen Wyrick in Seneca turning 10. Now, Aspen's birthday was on Friday, but we didn't have a picture. We missed one, so we just wanted to make sure that we shared that picture with the 4 states. So Aspen, of course, this means you can celebrate all week long, and why not? This is with love from Mom, Dad, Nana, and Papa. Happy birthday to you again, Aspen.
Up in Uniontown, Artie Polrees celebrating birthday number 14 this year.
And we've got Wyatt Blackford turning 15 in Lamar. Wyatt, a happy birthday to you.
Garrett Allman celebrating the big 2-0 this year. Garrett is in Chanute.
And we have Shelby and Grant Smith. They are twins in Pittsburgh celebrating their 23rd birthday today. A happy birthday to both of you.
All right. Happy birthday, Shelby and Grant. And Brianne O'Brien celebrating 31 years today. Brianne is in Liberty.
And we've got Kaylee Newman turning 32 over in Riverton. Kaylee, a happy birthday to you.
And Jennifer Harina celebrating the big 4-0 this year. Happy birthday to Jennifer in Frontenac.
And Adam Atnip also turning 40 just to the east over in Jasper. A happy birthday to you, Adam.
Janet Atnip is turning 69. This is Adam's mother. And earlier we had our very first picture, Macy Fosdick. This is her great aunt. So we've got a lot of birthdays in the family today. Janet is 69 in Jasper.
And we've got Gary Smith turning 72 in Pittsburgh. And here he's pictured with his hole-in-one at Holiday Island in Arkansas, playing golf much better than I do. Gary, a happy birthday to you.
That'd be so awesome to get a hole-in-one. Awesome job, and happy birthday, Gary. And happy birthday to Gary Clark, who's 84 this year. Gary is in Joplin.
And we've also got Earl Eddington celebrating birthday number 84 as well. Earl is over in Columbus. Happy birthday.
In Coffeyville, Kathy Clark Thompson celebrating another birthday. Hope it's a great one for you.
And we've also got Molly Lovell over in Frontenac celebrating a birthday today as well. I would love to go see Mount Rushmore. Molly got the chance to do so. An excellent trip, I'm sure. Happy birthday.
All right. Birthday list goes on. We've got Shane Schuberger celebrating another year wiser in Columbus. Glenn Schofield is 74 in Miami. Apparently we had your birthday incorrect. I'm so sorry about that, Glenn. He is 74 and lives in Miami.
Now, I wasn't here Friday, but my hope is, and I'm sure that Glenn wouldn't mind, that we had his birthday a few years younger.
I don't
You're
recall.
only as old as you feel,
There you
right?
go.
And we've got some anniversaries today as well. We've got Lloyd and Joyce Woods in Baxter Springs celebrating their 63rd. Steve and Pam Jacquinot celebrating their 47th in St. Paul. And Floyd and Dixie Woods celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary in Pittsburgh. Happy anniversary and happy birthday to everybody today.
All right. If you've got a birthday or an anniversary, you can email them to us at birthdays@KOAMTV.com.
And of course, if you're at our website, you know what you can do. You can sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com, and then you select the Birthday Club option, put in your information, and you get some cool deals from local businesses on your birthday. So make sure you get over there and do that. Take a look at this sunrise at 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Those colors, just absolutely beautiful. It's like a Bob Ross painting out there with some happy trees right in the front. And we have pretty good temperatures to start the day too. 50 degrees in Joplin right now with clear skies. We've got 58 Center, 48 Iola, 54 Parsons, 49 Carthage, and 47 in Monette as we start the day, putting us upwards of 10 to 25 degrees cooler almost than what we were 24 hours ago. Now again, these temperatures are much more seasonable than what we've seen. It's just they're a lot cooler because we've been unseasonably warm for the last several days. Allergy sufferers, some good news. You might be able to actually get outdoors. Pollen count today at 6.2 out of 12, and we've got a 5.6 out of 12 for tomorrow, and we're going to have perfect weather to get out there and enjoy it. Kids getting on the bus, which they are set to do so here shortly. We're looking right around 48 degrees, partly cloudy skies, northwest breeze about 10 to 15, and by 3 o'clock when they get off that bus, still partly cloudy, 75, but that wind starts to gust to 25 miles per hour. As we go through today, partly cloudy is the theme. We'll stay partly cloudy all day long, eventually warming up to 81. Then we've got mostly clear skies in the forecast for tonight as we drop back down for a low of 53 degrees. And then as promised, we're still watching Ian. Now earlier this morning, the advisory just updated. Ian is now officially a Category 1 hurricane as it chugs out over Cuba and will eventually start to make a turn back off to the north and northeast right for Florida. So this is what we can show you on the latest track on Ian as it continues to progress. This says Fiona for some reason. It must be thinking back last week. I'm not sure why it says that, but this is Ian's track. We're looking at a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 130 gusts to maybe 160 as it approaches the Florida coastline. And that's where the problem is. It may not necessarily make landfall as a hurricane, Category 4 hurricane, but as you can see, it still stays pretty close to shore with those extraordinarily strong winds, which is going to lead to some excessive storm surge, which can cause flooding. And I've been reading some of the discussions from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman and National Hurricane Center. The cold front that made us pretty decent is expected to run into Hurricane Ian, and they've got some concerns that there will be an increased tornado threat. Now, hurricanes can spin up tornadoes as they make landfall, but with that cold front coming in, they are concerned that it could lead to an increased tornado threat as Hurricane Ian moves ashore across northern Florida and eventually weakens tropical storm status as it heads into Georgia. Our forecast on the future track shows nothing. It is working though, because as you can see by Wednesday, maybe some showers out around, say, Dodge City, south of Goodland, but nothing for us except, I mean, the one good thing we get is decent temperatures for outdoor activities, and we'll have mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. It's not until about Tuesday of next week that we're watching the chance for some scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm or two, and we are keeping our fingers crossed because the drought situation only getting worse, and we definitely need that rain. All right, as mentioned, mostly clear, partly cloudy. Temperatures hanging out in the 80s most of the week, starting to warm up by the weekend. And for the most part, overnight lows in the 50s, making them much more seasonable. We're back after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Missouri house burns to the ground, leaving only the foundation. Around 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Dunawig Fire Department was alerted to a house fire in the Prosperity area. The house, located in the 19,000 block of Eli Road, was engulfed in fire by the time the Jasper County deputies arrived. Investigation determined the resident was not at home at the time of the fire. Mutual aid arrived from Joplin, Webb City, Oronogo, and Carthage. The fire was declared under control at 2:55 a.m. No firefighters were injured. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. Officers say J. Terrence Scott Jr. is wanted in connection with a felony pursuit in Bourbon County. They say he may be armed and dangerous. Officers recovered the vehicle the suspect was riding in and contact other suspects involved in the case. However, the 6'6", 280-pound Scott escaped the area. Police say they discovered narcotics and firearms in the suspect's vehicle. Deputies encourage anyone with information regarding the crime to contact the sheriff's office. Well, every fall, Festa Italiana makes its way back to Frontenac, Kansas. Festa Italiana gives people the opportunity to see the heritage of Southeast Kansas and why it is the way it is today. The funds raised go towards student development grants and semester scholarships to all Frontenac High School graduates. Well, Carl Junction hosted its CJ Bluegrass Festival on Saturday for families to enjoy. The event featured bluegrass singers from around the nation, as well as vendors, live music, food trucks, and kid activities. The organizer says celebrations like this bring the community together. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as you head out the door, your forecast for today, we will warm up to a high of 81 degrees under partly cloudy skies, so not bad. Heading into tonight, we're mostly clear. We'll eventually drop back down to 53 degrees for an overnight low. And a look at that 7-day forecast. I wish it had some rain in it because we absolutely need some. But if you've got outdoor activities, and this is the forecast for you, we'll be in the 80s, mostly clear, partly cloudy. 50 degrees for 50-degree temperatures for overnight lows, except for Wednesday, where we may dip back into the upper 40s.
That's right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making stovetop roast in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And of course, your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. NASA, as we've been talking about, sending a spacecraft to deliberately crash into an asteroid at speeds faster than a bullet. Coming up on CBS Mornings, senior national correspondent Mark Strassman has details on the mission that will defend Earth.
Or you can switch over with us, not on us, on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, Misty White from Feeding Inc. in Carthage hits the studio to tell us about a dinner and silent auction where you can help feed their cause and get fed in the process.
Not a bad deal there. Plus, Space Force introducing a theme song, but not everyone likes the sound of it. Jeannie Moose gives us an earful. That's going to wrap it up. I always do that. I'm supposed to say this, and I always pause and forget that. So that is going to wrap it up for us for now. We're going to see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we're going to do it all again today at noon.